Welcome to the More Than Fitness podcast.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Minisode number 139. And on today's Minisode, we're going to talk about 4 nutrition habits you need to double down on today. I think that's the title I'm going to make this. I just wrote it out like that, but whenever I said it, I didn't necessarily love it. So that might be the title. That might not be. But either way, as usual, it's going to be an amazing Minisode. But first things first, gonna be better about this. Please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast if you enjoy it. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, click the fucking bell, right? You know, smash that like button, smash the bell. That's what the kids these days say. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. And then on podcasts, rate, review, 5 stars. You guys know the deal. But please, it really does help for me to get the podcast out there. Can't talk, but it's good for increasing the awareness around either the YouTube channel and just the podcast in general. And then that means that this little tribe we have, this little community, gets bigger and bigger with other people like us, and we can keep all the other weirdos and everybody else who is completely wrong in their worldview out of our little community. So please do that. And then the other thing is I will be taking more questions for the Minisode. So if you want to submit a question for me to answer, you can click the link in the description. You can remain anonymous, leave your name, and you can leave your question and I will answer it in Minisode form. All right. Let's go ahead and get into those 4 nutrition habits. The reason why I wanted to create this Minisode was because after learning these types of habits, and the reason why I say you need to double down on them is because it's simply the biggest bang for your buck habits that you could learn today and double down on today that can have the biggest impact long term, right? So they minimize your risk for failure long term. And they're not super complicated. And the thing is, just like with any other habit, after you start to do it for a little while, it becomes easier and easier. And then whenever it actually does become an ingrained habit, it kind of goes on autopilot, right? So the very first nutrition habit is going to be learning how to cook, right? And I know that this is like, of course, this is something you should do, but I think it is something that we don't take seriously. And how I see learning how to cook is, honestly, I would say to start off with some type, if you can afford it, but something like HelloFresh, right? Where they send you all the ingredients. You don't have to do the grocery shopping. Because I think that's kind of the biggest deterrent, at least it was for me, whenever I was trying to first get into cooking, is just like, I don't want to buy all the spices and shit and the seasonings and then get the wrong vegetable or something, right? Just all these little deterrents added up. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to get something else. But with HelloFresh or something else like that, and I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, but it's kind of like, it's like cooking on training wheels, essentially. This is like putting your whiskey with Diet Coke, right? Mixing those two together. And the way that you get to drinking regular bourbon on the rocks or drinking it neat is you slowly decrease that amount of Diet Coke in that drink, right? And so with cooking, I see it as I promise you, this will be the only podcast where I compare drinking whiskey with learning better nutrition habits. But the truth is still there, right? As far as going from HelloFresh to cooking is better. The cooking, foods, your own recipes, and being confident enough to do it on your own. Going from not doing that at all to HelloFresh, cooking on training wheels, and then mixing it up and doing your own little chef type thing. But learning how to cook, it's just the evidence is very clear in this, whether it's in the scientific literature or just me working with people or anecdotal evidence with myself. The more that you cook, the better your health and body composition goals are going to be. Essentially, you're going to have better health, you're going to have less fat, you're going to have more muscle, you're going to feel better, and it's just such a valuable primal skill that I don't think should be skimped on. I think that there's no better feeling in the world for me at least whenever it comes to stuff like this, then making a meal for a group of people and then them enjoying that meal. It's my favorite to whip out the cast iron skillet, make steaks for everybody. We can do potatoes, we can do vegetables, and it's just such a satisfying feeling to be able to do that and provide that for people. And so not even alone just with the health benefits and the body composition benefits, just as a human skill to learn how to do, learning how to cook is vital for that. Okay, the second nutrition habit you need to double down on today is going to be learning how to make vegetables that taste good. Now, this one's more obvious in terms of it being good for if, let's say, you're on a fat loss diet, or if you're just trying to increase your overall health and quality of life. Vegetables are good. We know this. It's fucking boring to hear it over and over again. However, it's the truth. And we probably, every person listening to this, unless you're a vegan or vegetarian or something, or if you're just the pinnacle of health and you crush veggies on the daily, we probably need to be eating more vegetables. And so I think that the easiest way to do that is to figure out how to make them taste good. And I actually have another Minisode and podcast on this topic. And so if you want to learn about that, just type in, what would it be? It would be something, it was like 7 ways to make vegetables taste good or something. More Than Fitness podcast. You guys know what to do. But the idea around this is that it's just, as far as, again, what I said in the beginning, as far as a short-term headache that can then lead to very large upside long-term, eating vegetables regularly is just, it's unmatched, right? And it's going to make fat loss easier. It's going to make you feel better on a regular basis. It's going to prevent diseases long term. And also, it's just like whenever you have really good tasting vegetables, sure, it's not the same, mouth explosion as like an Oreo or something, or some like fresh pie or a pizza or something like that. But there's something to be said whenever you have the contrast flavors of, say, something with a very high palatability, something that is super delicious. So you have like mashed potatoes, for example, with lots of salt and butter. You can eat a lot of it really quickly. It tastes delicious. But there's something to be said to then pair that, your next bite, with being something not as palatable, but the texture is different, the flavor is different. So take like peppers, for example. So if you have like red, yellow, orange peppers, green peppers, something like that, it's just going to add different types of flavors to your palate whenever you have a meal. And that's the reason why I think people don't even realize this, but sometimes when you go out to restaurants and stuff, there's a reason why those foods are paired with other sides that they are, right? It's just like they complement each other. Whenever you have a really good meal, the chef is preparing these dishes so that the meat complements the sides complement the meat, the appetizers or something like that. Whenever you have multiple course meals, there's a structure and a routine and a purpose behind these flavors that you're having. And so what I've noticed, especially too, is whenever I haven't had vegetables for a long time, whenever I haven't had a salad in a long time, my body craves that nutritious taste and texture of vegetables. And so again, you guys, I don't need to harp on the benefits because you guys know, but whenever you think about it that way, I think it's just, it's hard to argue that it's not something you should spend a little bit of extra time on to figure out how to do. There's so many damn articles on this. I have a Minisode on it. Please go listen to that. It's just something we all need to do. So learning how to make vegetables taste good, right? Okay, the third nutrition habit is going to be, okay, so this one's kind of flipping the switch as far as not so much around overall health, but more specific to body composition, losing fat, gaining muscle, all that kind of fun stuff. So paying attention to peri-workout nutrition. Peri-workout nutrition means pre-workout nutrition, intra-workout nutrition, so before the workout, during the workout, and post-workout, right? But this is essentially the one of the most important parts of your overall nutrition plan when your goal is to gain muscle and lose fat. You can imagine that the times around your workout is going to be the times that are most important to, of course, the entire day matters. I 100% get that. But if you can figure out that pre, during, and post-workout nutrition side of things, it's going to be it's going to be a couple more percentage points as far as making your plan more successful overall. And I would bet if you simply pay attention to that period, the rest of your day will also fall into place, right? It's like whenever you get one thing in check, other things tend to fall in check as well. And so what I would recommend is that, of course, this is a pretty big topic, but I think that the main thing, one of the biggest things would be to sandwich your workouts with a pretty high amount of protein. So this is whenever your body is going to be most sensitive to the protein and as far as breaking down muscle, building up muscles, insulin sensitivity, all these different things are happening with the body, and your body is going to be primed to put that protein to good use. And so whenever I say sandwiching your workouts with protein, I mean the pre-workout nutrition and the post-workout nutrition. And most people kind of do this by default, but I would pay extra attention to this if you tend to have your pre-workout meal, let's say like 3 hours or more before your workout. So if you eat your pre-workout meal and then work out 3 hours later, well, then the post-workout meal becomes even more important because you're going for a pretty long stretch of time without any amino acids coming into your body, without any protein coming into your body. And now, again, I want to reiterate, this is not a huge deal, but this can be something that can be important to take things up a notch if you do have most other things covered. But if so, let's say if your pre-workout meal is an hour before your workout, well, then the food that you eat in that pre-workout meal are still going to be circulating around in your blood and in your system and everything like that. And you probably don't have to rush super fast to have that post-workout protein shake or meal or something like that. You don't have to worry about the anabolic quote unquote window or anything like that. But again, it's also not going to hurt you in any way to make sure that you get in the meal afterwards as well. So that's going to be the big thing, kind of protein timing, and then the amount of protein in each of those. So I would aim for, at least for most people, at least 20 to 25 grams. If you can do more, then that's going to be good too. But for most people, about 25 grams is about the minimum that I would say in pre and post workout protein amounts. The next thing would be your hunger. I think this is something that people don't think about as much, especially pre-workout, because the worst thing, if you've ever gone to the gym and you've, you've gotten hungry in the middle of your workout, well, it's just like, you might as well just pack your shit up and go home, right? It's just like, you might as well just have left your headphones at home because it's just your performance, it just feels terrible. You're not in a good mood. You're basically ready to get home. You feel flat. You feel like you're not vascular at all. You're not pumped. You don't like the exercises don't feel as good. You don't feel as strong. And so the thing is just like that can be very easily prevented just with a simple, within the hours leading up to your exercise, be more mindful of, okay, when am I eating this meal and how big is this meal? If I'm having a huge meal, and this can go both for being hungry during your workout and also too full. So let's say you eat an hour before your workout, but you eat a huge meal, and then you go to your workout and you just feel sluggish and tired, and your body's basically trying to still digest the food, and it's using a lot of its blood flow and function basically to digest those foods instead of properly fueling your workouts. And the same thing can be said whenever you're hungry. Let's say you have your pre-workout meal 3 hours before your workout, but you don't have a very big meal. And so then you're basically walking into your workout with nothing on your stomach in 3 hours, and then you're hungry, and then all that bad shit happens like I mentioned earlier. So it's just right now, take into account, okay, when's my workout going to be tomorrow? And when am I going to eat before that? And so whenever I'm going to eat before that, however long that period is, that should dictate how big your meal is. And again, it's like, this isn't anything crazy to say, but it's something to reiterate that I don't think people consider as much because they think, okay, one day of doing this, and of course, one day of being hungry in the gym isn't going to do shit. But if you constantly fail to do this and your performance in the gym constantly suffers, well, it's just like you do the math over time, and that's going to add up. These small details, this is where it can make a difference in your overall physique, right? You do this properly for a day, it's not going to make a difference. A week and a month, it's still probably not going to make a big difference. But if you do this for years on end and you get this shit right for years and years and years, that's going to be a pretty big difference in percentage increased over time compared to somebody who doesn't pay attention to this stuff. So yeah, that's going to be the third one. And the very last one, yeah, we're coming up on time. The very last one is eating slowly. This is the last nutrition habit. This one is, again, pretty straightforward, but the research is still clear on this, that eating mindfully, eating slower is going to lead to overall better health benefits. It's going to be better digestion. You're going to feel more satisfied with your overall meal. You're going to eat less. You're going to eat fewer calories. You're probably going to eat less shit overall, right? And so all of these things can be conducive to better health, better body composition, and better quality of life. And also it's good to just like relax, enjoy the meal, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the ambiance, enjoy the material the table is made out of, the utensils. What's that look like? What's the lighting like? What's the conversation going on if you're with people? Like what's the dialogue like? That's something important stuff to take note of. And so to eat slower, my best tip is to simply put your utensil down or put your food down in between each bite. That's going to be literally the simplest thing to do. So either put your utensil down, put your food down in between each bite, swallow completely, and then eat again. And now I just do this automatically. It's not something that I have to like train myself to do, or just take a drink, take a nice little sip of something in between each bite or every 2 bites or so, and you'll automatically eat slower that way. Okay, and that is it. 4 nutrition habits you need to double down on today. Learning to cook, learning how to make vegetables taste good, paying attention to your peri-workout nutrition, and eating slowly. That is it for this minisode. Again, if you have a question, if you want me to answer your question, click the link in the description. I'd be happy to answer that for you on the Minisode podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, all that shit. And that's it. Thank you guys, as always, for listening and for watching. See ya.